Hello,
Hello.
everything is okay with you?
Yes, if you funny, if you good, I will good.
What?
If you good, I will be good.
Yeah, I'm very good. Just a little bit sleepy. Thank you for that. So today we will continue speaking about Alexander the Great. So can you still remember what we have already spoken about regarding Alexander?
I have a question
Yes.
Yes.
about the project.
The project shall be presented from tomorrow until Thursday. No further delay will be accepted. So you must finish it during this week. After that, your problem.
Is there a slide limit or like the minimum amount of slides we need or sorry?
7 at least.
Okay, I got
Seven
the 7
slides.
exactly. Is that okay?
Teacher, 7
Oh.
slides of PowerPoint.
Yes, yes.
Bruh, that's too much.
And I read it all.
Wait, what
Well,
were the
you
topics?
don't have to include 1,000 words into one slide.
Okay, 2 points.
Topic.
That's all you get.
A picture worth 1,000 words, right?
Yes.
So you can just make one picture and later to write 2 or 3 lines and then explain those lines. You don't have to write a lot into your presentation. I don't like writing. Just one photo, one picture, and later 2 or 3 sentences only. 3 sentences, and then explain them. Okay?
Okay.
Teacher,
Yes.
when is the present? When are we presenting? You said today.
No, I said starting from Monday.
He said today as in the participation thing. from
Aha,
last
the
week.
presentations. Yes. Can we postpone that till tomorrow with a project?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes.
Because-
Fine. I do not mind it at all.
What?
No problem.
What?
Great decision making, teacher. Great decision.
Yes,
What is
you
it?
are very good mind, very problem solving.
Intelligent.
So prove that you haven't done your presentation. Thank you.
No, it's here, but not ready.
Okay, no problem.
He's
Everything
too
is
busy
now
to
great.
present.
So, we have already spoken about Alexander the Great and we have mentioned some of the facts around his life. What can you still remember from it?
He hated the Persians.
Yes, that's a fact. What else?
He invaded them too and murdered them.
That's also a fact. He started to invade the Persian civilization. What else?
He united the Greeks, right, to go invade the Persians.
Yeah, along with his father, before him, Philip II, he could unite all of the Greek civilization. Come on, any other one?
He conquered regions of the Middle East.
That's also a fact.
Conquered the Indus Valley.
No,
No.
he tried.
Okay, he tried.
He failed. Any other thing?
He perfected the phalanx formation.
Actually, phalanx formation was from the Spartan people when the he considered to have the phalanx technique, but he just modified that. Yes.
I entered before 1 second. I am present.
I didn't take the absence too far. I'll take the absence at the end of the session. All right. So we have spoken about Alexander, and that Alexander was born in the Macedonian Empire. His father, of course, was Philip II. His father, he was the king of Macedonia, and consequently, his son is the prince. But Alexander was not the heir to the throne. Put that in your mind. His father, of course, he was a very strong man. He had a strong army. Consequently, he started to gather all the people in Macedonia under his control. Once he was strong enough to invade other city-states in the Greek civilization like Thebes, Athens, and Sparta, he directly marched towards them. At a very young age, especially at the age of 17, Alexander he was presented for war also as his father, and he started to collect and conquer the villages and the nomad people around the Macedonian civilization. Unfortunately, at the age of 20, when his father was assassinated at his daughter's wedding, Alexander later, by the support of his mother, Olympias, he was presented to rule over his brothers and sisters, and consequently, he took his father's position. So that's what we have studied, right? So I'll just skip them correctly. So once again, he was born in Macedonia for the king Philip II, and his mother was named Olympia, and in some other books Olympias. Unfortunately, his father was assassinated, was killed when Alexander was 20. His mother encouraged him to take his father's place as a king and starting to unite the people. So, we will start by Alexander conquers Persia. Mus'ab, it's been a long time since I heard you speaking.
Hello.
Hello, Mus'ab. Can you read, please? Alexander conquers Persia.
Okay. Alexander conquers Persia. Alexander was only 20 years old, yet he was already an experienced soldier who shared his father's ambitions. With Greece subdued, he began organizing the forces needed to conquer Persia. By 334 BC, he had enough ships to cross the Dardanelles, the straits separating Europe from Asia. Persia was no longer the great power it had once been. The empire Darius III was weak, and the provinces were often in rebellion against him. Still, the Persian Empire stretched more than 2,000 miles from Egypt to India. Alexander won his first victory against the Persians at the Ganges River. He then moved from victory to victory, marching all through Asia Minor into Palestine and south to Egypt, before turning east again to take Babylon in 331 BC. Other clues followed, but before Alexander could capture Darius, the Persian Empire was murdered.
Alright, so we're speaking about at the age of 20 now. After Alexander ascended the throne, he had that idea to just fight their common and for everlasting enemy, which are the Persian. Well, likely for him at that time, the Persian, they were very, very weak at that point. If you can remember, they are becoming an aging dynasty because right now the ancient people, okay, or the Persian people, they are becoming so weak, so fragile. At the period of Darius the First, they were very strong. His son Xerxes were very strong. Darius the Second, a little bit strong. But by the age of Darius the Third, the Persian were becoming so fragile and so weak. Consequently, that's also happened in the city-states of the early Greek civilization, like Athens and also Sparta and Thebes, which enabled both Alexander and his father to conquer them easily. So Alexander started marching toward those civilization. So here is Macedonia. From Macedonia, he started his journey. Of course, first he collected all of these places, but his father first. Okay, his father first started to join these places. Here in this place you have Thebes. Let's just mark them. Here we have Thebes. Here we have Athens, and here we have Sparta. And this is the palace of Knossos. Okay, so his father, King Philip II first, gathered all of these city-states under his control, and then Alexander would start marching toward this bigger places. First, he started with from Macedonia. He started to move into the river of Granchius. From the river of Granchius, he went directly to Asia Minor, and Asia Minor were under the control of the Persian Empire. Later, he started to have all of Asia Minor and moved to Egypt. In Egypt, he settled down there, and after settling down, he constructed and created the city of Alexandria, which was named after him. And it was one of the most important cities that were created by Alexander as a cultural place. Later, after creating Alexandria, he started to move once again in order to conquer the Persian people into their own land. Of course, he moved first by the Mesopotamian civilization and the city of Babylon, and later he moved directly to the Persian Empire. And inside the Persian Empire, he started just killing them one by one and taking over their lands. Unfortunately, once he went here, he tried to go further east to India, but unfortunately, he countered men riding war elephants for the first time in his history. Alexander was never defeated in a battle, yet for the first time while marching towards India, he found out that those Indian people, they are riding war elephants. So all of his techniques, phalanx, not phalanx, any of these techniques were never to be very good against those warriors. Consequently, he just decided to go back. And it's to be said that while trying to invade India, one of the insects in their tropical forests bit him, and he got a fever. So he went back to Papillon.
Wait, what bit him?
Some folks say that an insect from the tropical forests in India. As you know, there are much forests in India because they pass the equator. So it's very hot there. It's rainy it can rain for 3 or 4 continual days. And there are some poisonous insects and creatures living in that forest. It's to be said that one of these insects bit him, that caused him a fever, and unfortunately they did not know the theorem or the antidote for that insect, which led to his death at the age of 32. Okay.
So he died from getting bitten by an insect?
According to some books, yes. According to your books, he got fever.
At the age of 32.
Not again our topic. Only our topic is about how this great man started a journey from Macedonia and started to just conquer and invade cities by cities and gathering a huge and magnificent empire under his control. And that was not done by any man in the history. For our known history, of course. Actually, there are except 4 men. 4 men has ruled all of planet Earth. Do you know them?
What?
4 men ruled all of planet Earth.
4 men?
Yes.
I only know that God rules everything.
Wasn't Dhul Qarnayn one of them?
Yes. Dhul Qarnayn Sulaiman.
Wait, what was the question?
All right. For our history, there are 4 men that ruled planet Earth. Two of them were believers and 2 were non-believers. Search for the information and tell me next session. So once again, we're speaking about how Alexander the Great started his journey to conquer Persia. He started moving from Macedonia, and from Macedonia he moved all the way to Asia Minor. From Asia Minor, moved to Egypt. From Egypt, created the city of Alexandria, and later went back to continue his conquest by moving to Babylon, and later started to invade all of the Persian Empire. They, of course, all were defeated, and he managed to connect all of these regions together in one cultural place. Even he urged people to become multicultural and share their common heritage and culture. And that's why he married a Persian woman in order to urge his mates in order to just counter the culture, not feeling superior because we are Greeks and they are Persian or Egyptian or Babylonian or anything. So the march into India and his first drawback. Hussam Al-Kohani, how are you doing? Do you have a mic, Hussam? I guess not. Okay, Ibrahim, can you read, please?
Yes, but teacher, can I ask a question before
Sure.
before reading?
Yeah.
Now, Alexander, his father died at the age of 20, and then he started conquering the world at the age of 20.
Yes.
Okay.
Facts.
Long before his father dies, okay, if you can remember, I told you that. Let's see, that's Macedonia right here. Okay, his father's empire.
Yeah.
Philip II started to connect all of these people. Okay, and while he was doing
Your
so,
screen is frozen, so you're saying this area. I don't know. I don't know what is this.
hold on a moment. Can you see it now?
Yes.
All right. For example, that's Macedonia, right? Philip II started to connect all of these states, okay, under his control. And while doing so, he marched towards Thebes, Athens, and also Sparta. That's Philip II, Alexander's father. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
While Philip was marching towards those Greek city-states to conquer them and connected them to his Macedonian empire, at the same time, Alexander, as a boy at the age of 17, he was marching to the north in order to connect all of the tribes and the nomad people living in the north under his control. So he was a very skillful soldier and leader since a very young age. Once his father died, okay, or was assassinated to be more accurate, his mother told him, now it's your time to become glory or to reach glory, and you must take your father's place. Of course, he was not the heir to the throne, yet because he was a skillful leader and warrior, other leaders of the city-states and also from Macedonia itself, whom his father has connected and gathered and invaded and conquested, all of them agreed that Alexander is the one that can connect us and expand our territories and land.
Wait, does that mean that they had a second choice? Like, did they have another choice other than Alexander the Great?
Yeah, Alexander had many brothers and sisters. His father married more than one woman, and
Yeah,
even
I think I read that.
Oh,
Olympias or whatever, the queen of
yeah,
Philip's
he
outmaneuvered all.
forged, yeah, he forged her.
yeah.
She made a
And
maneuver in order to enable Alexander to rule.
Philip II was assassinated by whom?
One of his enemies, of course. Once you
In his
start
daughter's wedding.
major lands, you will gain more enemies.
Yeah, but like, where? Like, is it
In his
specified?
daughter's wedding, he was assassinated by some of his enemies.
So we do not know who exactly assassinated Philip II.
Well, actually, I don't know the man exactly who killed him.
But like, I mean, where is he from? Or like,
Of course, one of the city states. Just imagine, Ibrahim.
oh, okay.
No, I'm a leader,
Same city
okay?
state.
I'm connecting cities under my control. So while connecting those cities, I'll just had to go into war between those cities and my empire. And while war, I'll just kill someone.
Yeah.
This someone could be someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's husband, someone's brother, someone's sister. So I'll gain hatred also. So although that Alexander was a very great warrior and he made a huge empire, yet a lot of people hated him because during his conquest, his army killed many men. Those men could be somebody's father, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, if women were killed in action. Okay,
You can't
so
conquer the world without someone
and
hating you.
who knows? Perhaps the fever that Alexander himself had was due to a poisonous potion from one of his enemies.
Mm.
As I told you that some books say that he was bit by an insect, but actually other books say another than that.
Wait,
That
some
there's
books
a
other
general.
than this?
Yeah, this doesn't say anything. This book just said that he had a fever and he died. But what was
Have
the
you read
reason for
other
it?
books about the Greek
I have.
civilization? Okay.
Okay, some books say that he was poisoned. Okay, and because of his leaders. Okay, they wanted to take control of his vast empire. Greedy men. So just imagine one person could control of all of this place. All of that was under Alexander's rule. So, as a leader, I need to have my name to be titled in the books of history and blah 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 blah. So why not just killing him? It's pretty easy. So let's give him a portion of poison, and once he dies, I can take his position. So the stories vary from one perspective to another, and from one historian to the other. But let's get agree on this. Alexander was a great leader. He was a very skillful one, and he managed to connect many civilizations under his control. And while doing so, he just wanted to have equality between all of his men. Not because you are Greek and you came from Macedonia with me, so you are better than the Egyptian people or the Mesopotamian people in Babylon, for example, or even the Persian, our everlasting enemy. And consequently, he married a Persian woman. So once again, Alexander himself started to march towards Persia and he conquered all of it. But while he marched towards India, something else happened. Can you read now? Ibrahim?
Yeah. Where?
The march into India.
Okay. They marched into India with much of the Persian Empire under his control. The restless Alexander headed further east.
Teacher, I think
Yes.
your screen is frozen again now. Yeah, it's
Shall I
frozen.
kill the screen or do what?
I don't know, Microsoft Teams is stupid or something.
I don't know whether it's Microsoft Teams or mobile internet. Can you see it now?
Which the page?
We are in page number
149.
114.
Yeah, I mean what paragraph each one? This.
Pretty much into
The
India.
first one to the right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ibrahim, repeat please.
He crossed the Hindu Kush into northern India. There in 326 BC, his troops for the first time faced soldiers mounted on war elephants. Although Alexander never lost a battle, his soldiers were tired of the long campaign and refused to go further east. Reluctantly, Alexander agreed to turn back after a long and difficult march. They reached Babylon, where Alexander began planning a new campaign.
Alright, so simply we're speaking about after invading Persia. Now his ego started to trigger him. Now just imagine a man who moved from this place in Macedonia and reached here, okay, until Nicaea in Persia. Wow, really? Wow, that's a lot, right? So of course his ego now have played some part in his decline because okay, so now I have moved all of this place and I'm capable of doing so much and so much. Why not invading the other places? And he started moving toward this India. Unfortunately, the Indian people they have their own sort of fighting and their own techniques in war, which unfortunately Alexander was not presented to. So, for the first time, he faced the men on elephant. Of course, he had enough men to conquer them and to have fight with them. Yet, his men were very, very, very tired. They had came very long distance, all of these places they went through, and consequently they are tired. And even what was worse than that, the worst thing was not just being tired, but that campaign it took many, many years. Okay, we're speaking about more than 10 years. He left Macedonia and started moving towards invading the city states and the civilization. So, consequently, mention this: some of his men did not return to their homes for over than 10 years. And once they countered the people in India, now everyone didn't have the stamina to continue to pursue on their goal. And even they and his leaders also wanted just to go back to their wives and their children. Okay, so one of the main reasons for the retreat was that most of the army wanted to go back to Macedonia because they really, really missed their families. Of course, it does not mention
And they,
the
teacher, and they grew tired as well, right?
of course, you are speaking about 10 years of campaign outside your house. A lot, man. Really, really a lot.
Wait, teacher, he did not lose a single battle, all of that. The whole journey, or just until he stopped and fell back?
Hello?
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 Yeah. Answer
Yeah,
Ibrahim's question.
My question was he did not lose a single battle this whole journey, or
yes.
the whole journey, not until he fell back?
For okay,
Your
so
voice is
he
lagging
went
now.
to India and he found those people in India. He countered them and he just retreated. Okay, because he had at that point, once he reached the Indian civilization, at that point, many features and many things played against the course of victory. It's not only about having men. He had men. He had plenty of men. It's not about weapons. It's not about techniques. But right now, you're speaking about a campaign that lasted for approximately 12 years. Most of the men that started the journey with Alexander either dead or never seen their families for more than 12 or 10 years. And other troops that were sent to him are still suffering from the same thing. And also, we were speaking about being tired because most of them were just campaigning in the streets, just building the tents, and that's it. So their life was miserable one. So many features and many factors affected on the pursuit of Alexander the Great to continue his conquest in order to invade India. Consequently, he was smart enough to go back to the city of Papillion. And there in Papillion, he just needed to have a rest and let his men rest, and some of them would be sent home to Macedonia, stay with their families, and to be replaced with other soldiers. And he will start planning for another campaign. Yet, unfortunately, he was dead before doing so. Got the idea?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question, teacher.
Yes.
The Alexander go to invade after they invade the Persian Empire. They go to India. Yes.
Yes.
Who won? India or Alexander?
He did not complete the conquest because of the features I told you about.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so there was never a war. Once he started to counter those people, he found that they are using elephants. They are using very different techniques than the one he is acquainted with. So he did not just pursue his conquest because of other features, not only the techniques. And of course, we will speak about the early death of Alexander. And before he could even set out again, the 32-year-old fell victim to a sudden fever. For your book, it's only a sudden fever. As Alexander lay dying, his commanders asked him, "To whom shall you lift your eminence empire?" So he answers, "To the strongest." But unfortunately, no one of his leaders proved to be strong enough to succeed Alexander. Instead, after years of disorder, three generals divided the whole empire between them. Macedonia and Asia Minor to one, Egypt alone to one, and the rest of Persia to another. Okay, so the empire of Alexander the Great was divided into three main regions for three main generals: Macedonia and Greece for one, Egypt to another, and most of Persia to the third. And of course, after Alexander's death, some of the cities did not compel to the Greek invasion, and they took back their liberty. For the next 300 years, their descendants competed for power over the land Alexander had already conquered. So, for one time, all of this area was under one control by Alexander the Great, but after his death, it was unfortunately Bingo 1, Bingo 2, and 3. And later, all of them started to fight among themselves in order to just have a piece of the land. So far, so good.
Yes.
Well,
Who killed teacher Alexander?
I beg your pardon. Sorry, Nawaf, what's the question?
I mean, who killed Alexander?
No, he was not killed. He died of sickness, illness.
Oh,
Okay.
At the
But
age of
of course,
32,
I beg your pardon. Yeah, at the age of 32.
he got
Well,
killed by sickness.
yes, fever.
What?
Fever.
That's a
Yeah,
young age to die from sickness. Okay.
let's just say a fever, okay? Because of course there could be something else. And perhaps once we have time, I may speak to you about that. Any questions so far, grade 9?
No, thank you very much.
All right, you are very, very welcome. And I hope that you just got the idea of Alexander the Great.
Abdul,